Hey, it is Friday, May 15th, 2026, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the West Coast. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps, where we, as a collective, try to figure out this thing called life. You know, we're small business owners, martial arts school owners who want to create businesses that work for us, where we can fulfill our version of success, where we can own a home potentially, we can take good care of our family, provide for our teams, and have something to give back to the community, right? And it's something I'm dedicated to, and I've been working with schools now as a consultant slash mentor for the better part of a decade now, over a decade, and I'm very grateful to be able to offer this service to the martial arts community. As you come aboard, say hello, tell us where you're tuning in from, and that'll be a good day. So let's start by thanking our sponsors, if we can do that. Our sponsors are Tusaw, Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, and Kin Creative. All businesses I work with, all business that have supported me in everything that I do. What do we got coming up? We got It's Time Live United, right? That's going to be coming up shortly in November. We already have people signing up. We have a great discount on the 4-day experience. That is the event you want to come to. The 4-day experience is unlike anything in the martial arts industry because we spend time, on the mat. We spend time in business. We spend time outside personal development. We spend time with wealth building. Everything that I believe a small business needs to be successful, because it's not just one thing, it's everything. The code is right there, or go to brandonbeliso.com, look under events. Only 20 school owners will sign up for this event. That's all we take to offer the type of personal intention that each school owner deserves and needs. Cool. All right, it's time group mentoring. I just got off our weekly call, and we're so deep on learning about writing systems and the process thereof. And without great systems in your business, forget it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're going to be a slave to your business. You're going to create a job for yourself and be a terrible boss. So learning to become an architect and learning to master writing systems and SOPs are vital to the success of what you do. Cool? So think about that as well. So what's everything about today? What are we talking about today? Well, for the past couple of weeks, we've sat in conversation talking about identifying your brand, right? And your brand is not a logo. We've talked about the things I think separate you from the noise. And that's really what it's about in today's world of AI generated imagery, generic messaging, graphics. More and more school owners are getting lost in the mix. And I've shared this and I'll share it passionately. If you're talking about we teach focus and confidence, and the next school is talking about focus and confidence, I, as a consumer, have nothing to differentiate you from anybody else. So my buying decision is pretty much dominated by which school is closest to me and which one is cheaper, right? One is convenience and one is value. And that is not a long-term relationship. That is not a relationship you want to invest in. And I use the metaphor. Imagine if you're dating somebody and you tell them, I'm dating you because you are closer to me, you live closer to me, and you're a cheap date. Are you with me on that? So I'm extremely passionate about that. So then I ask you that question. What differentiates you from anybody else? Anybody? What differentiates you from everybody else? And as you come aboard, I see people coming in. Say hello. Tell me where you're tuning in from. I would be grateful. So take a look at that now. Help me out. What differentiates you from everybody else? Well, I think it begins by having a purpose or a why. Ours is to help people live their best life. That is what we do through investments of relationship, through life skills education, through martial arts, through community, through creating a culture that people believe in and want to be a part of. All those things add up to why people choose one martial arts over anybody else. And I think the tough thing about that, a lot of people don't get, is the value that truly brings. So I'm going to encourage you to read books like Shoot Off by Phil Knight, I think Nike is an example of culture. Study anything Apple. Listen to old Steve Jobs talks and philosophies. Walt Disney's another great one. I would recommend as well, because what we're really discussing here, and once we can really understand that, I know we don't want to believe that because maybe we were bullied as a kid, so we took martial arts and it taught us some techniques to defend ourselves so that bully never touched us again. I understand that. But if you really believe people are buying martial arts, you're hugely missing the boat. They might come for the kicks and punches, but they stay for life skills education. So, again, it's something I encourage you to invest a lot of time and a lot of money into. Now, whether it's buying My Kids Love Life Skills, or whether it's someone else's system, or whether it's spending the 10,000 hours you need to write a great life skills systems, make no mistake, anybody can teach someone to kick and punch. I grew up in streets where people could fight without martial arts, right? But to really make a difference and watch your students go on to Cornell and Stanford, to be able to put that on your about page. We are most proud our students that are in black belts go to major colleges like Cornell and Stanford. Those types of communication is really important, because I've learned right away that families are not buying martial arts. They are investing in their child's future, their child's confidence, their child's ability to believe in themselves. That is something they will spend a lot of money on. That is something when their kid wants to quit, they won't allow to happen. Are you with me? So, but you have to cultivate that. No different than working on your curriculum. You have to invest heavily in that life skills curriculum. Because parents aren't just looking for kicks and punches, they're looking for people they can trust to help guide their child. And that's heavy, right? That's a very valuable relationship, because I understand it takes a village to raise kids. We get that. We get that. But because I believe, the martial arts industry isn't regulated by anybody, and it should be. I mean, there's certain standards that you have to be an electrician, right? Certain standards that must be met, and there's a governing board and there's a union and all that. We don't have that in our industry. We don't. So anybody can claim to be a black belt and open a school without very limited training, right? And if you take a step further, people like Melody Johnson, that is really advocating for us understanding how children think, how children learn through her neuroscience practice and advocacy, is powerful. Things like that I go overlooked. So again, I think it's so important to differentiate yourself from everything else out there. Because do you want to be lumped in? And I don't mean to be out of line, but do you want to be lumped in with, the latest news post of some instructor, molesting an underage child in his school? Do you want to be part of that? No. So you really must make a concentrated effort to stand out from all of that. Plus, the guy who's not trained at all, who doesn't understand how children think, has no experience in child psychology or otherwise. Hey, Bob Poole, Goals Martial Arts, what's up, my brother? And that's why, for us, I believe the success of one martial arts and what we do, and the sustainability over 25 years in one location, 10 in another, is our investment to really creating an environment that fulfills parents' needs. And number one is safe, number two is supported. But ironically, here's something we don't think about: people want to be seen. Wow, that's a big one, right? So when we're getting families to choose our martial arts school, and that's what this is all about, we want to make sure they're seen and heard. Now, I have to admit, I'm weakest on learning people's names. I'm still weak on that. And it's really hard when I see a student, I look at their belt and know they've been there for a year, and I still don't know their name, right? Because I don't teach all the time. So I make a very concentrated effort now, check myself, my ego at the door. And I walk up to a lot of people and go, you know what? I've never met you before. I'm really sorry I don't know your name. Can you please tell me? That, again, fulfills our brand promise of living your best life. Are you with me? Because if people don't feel seen and heard, they're not living their best life in your school. And again, that's why, going back to the top of it, what is your brand promise to the community? Can anybody put it in the comments? And I'll be happy to take you on a fun exercise, right, of how I work with school owners on that. What is your brand promise to the community? It should be at your website. It should be in your social media. It should be in your communication with parents. It should be on the mat. It should be written. It should be in everywhere possible. Because once you understand, again, ours is live your best life. We live it, we teach it, we preach it. It's that simple. Because remember, the goal is not to get people to buy into what you do. The goal is to get people to believe in what you do. Are you with me? So when it comes to brand promise, it's just that. And if you break your promise to people, let's say you get that far and you create this amazing brand and you have a brand promise. The minute you don't fulfill that brand promise, you lose trust. And trust is the last true form of marketing. Stay with me now. Trust is the last true form of marketing. And I believe that. I truly believe that. Why? Because in the world of AI generated ads, AI generated messaging, graphics, all the rest, all it does is breed distrust. That's all it does. And so in today's world, lies told enough time become the truth. And that's really scary. In a court of law, it's not who's right or wrong. It's who has the better lawyer and the deeper pockets in many instances. So I spend a lot of time on transparency, authenticity. If you read my blog at onemartialarts.com, I'm very vulnerable. I'm very exposed. I'm very human. I think that is something where we can connect with people. Because when you create an emotional connection with your demographic, moms, dads, everything can change. Here's a great example of that. Last Saturday, we did the Mom and Me party, and I chose to do it, which was a lot of fun. At one point, I said, and there were a lot of 4 and 5, 6-year-olds there. I said, you will never get 4 again. You only get 4 once. I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old. I can't look at my kids at 17 and 14 and say, please be 5 again. It's impossible. So I applaud you for being here today at this Mom and Me party. Now, that type of language, that type of philosophy is in my newsletters and everything. And when a parent sees the urgency and the value of being present with their 5-year-old because they never get 5 again, that's a system of belief. Are you with me? That is a system of belief. So if I'm going to ask you, Bob, with Goals Martial Arts, what's one of your brand promises to a potential lead, a trial, a student, your long-term families that have been with you? What is one brand promise that Goals Martial Arts promotes, lives by, and shares to every example, every thought, word, and action? What is that? Okay. Now, while you do that, Bob, I think one of the big mistakes people make is they think their brand is a logo. It's not a logo. It is not a logo. Your brand is the experience that families have with you, the feeling they get when they walk through your doors, the culture you create, the trust you build over time. And trust is something that's built over time, right? So I think it's really important for us in our culture. We never lead with salesmanship. We lead with offering parents the right information. We do everything we can to help them be well informed so they can make an educated buying decision based upon their own accord. There's nothing more empowering than to make a good decision on your own. If I'm doing it based upon influence, I'm doing it based upon coercion, I'm doing it based upon a sales script, I'm doing it based upon, high pressure sales, bad day. Bad day. You want to create distrust right away for me? Try to sell me that way. Right. And that's where that old age adage of used car salesman comes in. Yeah. Yeah. So let's not do that. All right. And so generally, what is it? What is it for you, Bob? What is it for you? Because I understand your brand is your promise to serve families with purpose and integrity. Yeah. Yeah. And people will always choose culture over sales tactics any day. Peter Drucker said it so well, and he's a Harvard professor, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So I don't care how strategic you are with your sales scripts and everything that you believe, do understand culture eats strategy for breakfast. Because if you buy from me, it's purely transactional. But if you believe in me, we have the foundation of a long-term relationship. And I understand that takes time, right? But I got to get 10 new students. We all have to get 10 new students. But the better question of culture-based businesses is, how do I keep the 10 that I have? How am I constantly adding more value to what they already pay me for? Simple one is retention events, right? Every month you should have a retention event. You want to build culture, right? January, we didn't have one because we just came off the Christmas party. February, parents' night out for Valentine's. March, St. Patty's Day family fun day. April, Easter, right? Our egg hunt. May, mom and me. June, dad and me. On and on, on and on. And we don't charge for these events. They're designed to add value to our existing student base to improve retention. And if somebody's on a trial or they're on their first month in your school and you tell them we have this mom and me party and they're like, what? Go to their elementary school. They might get a rose or make a card, but do they have an event for their moms? No, no, they don't. They don't. I know that for a fact because we work with the elementary schools. So again, we're in a very unique position, but it's either a huge win or it's a huge miss. Because people will choose the culture any day, any day. I don't need to have a cultural relationship with Starbucks to buy Starbucks. Just make my drink the way I like, and that's why there's Starbucks everywhere. And there's no culture like that. You don't see people running around with Starbucks t-shirts professing the philosophy of Starbucks anywhere, right? It's convenient. I need coffee. It's there. Cool. And it's a decent product. Do you genuinely care about my child? I need to know that. Will my child feel seen, encouraged, and supported? Can I trust this team? Those are the three questions you need to answer in defining and building your culture and the strategies and systems and SOPs and the team that support it. Answer those questions. Do you genuinely care about my child? Think of one way right now that you display caring about people in your school. Well, for us, it's an easy one. Hello at the front door, right? Hello at the front door is just the easiest one, right? Kind and brave greetings. And that's Virginia from Journey Martial Arts. And that's her brand, Kind and Brave. It's one of their taglines. So do you genuinely care about my child? Give me one system, one process you have in place, an SOP that you help a parent believe you genuinely care about their child. Okay? Well, simple one. Hello at the front door. I greet you, because to show that you care about somebody, they need to be seen. Write this one down, because I've done a lot of research on this recently, and also through ChatGPT, really understanding, why is it so important to a parent that their child is seen? Those words, right? They want their child to be seen. So Virginia, you're a mom and you have an active school. Tell me, what does that mean, right? Why do parents choose that phrasing of words, right? I want to take my child to a place where they'll be seen. I was perplexed in that. Seen. Why that word seen? Seen more than anything. Okay, and go ahead and give me your comments. Anybody that's on the show listening, because I think there's nothing more heartbreaking, right, than a child that's invisible. It diminishes their self-worth, their self-confidence, and they're actually devalued, right? They're being devalued. And if I care about your child, if your child is seen, if your child's supported, then your child is obviously valued in my school, in the culture that we offer. So seen as a blanket word makes a lot of sense, because I've heard the yin to the yang of that, where a child would say, I'm invisible in the house I live in. Wow. Hey, Conrad, they want their child to be seen by the world as significantly as they see them. Wow, Conrad. That is so amazing. That is so amazing. Could you imagine for one moment if we could write a system, Conrad, or we could write an SOP where they feel as seen by our team at the same level, that high level that their own mom or dad sees them in? Oh, that would be an amazing system, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Imagine if that kid walks in and they feel that. And I strive for that. In our after school program, I can't tell you how many hugs. And I don't even run the after school program, right? When I come in, because I make sure every child is seen. And one of the ways I do that, and this is just me, and I've instilled this in our team, is a look, right? I'll come into the school and just stop myself in my tracks, look at this one kid and just go, just in awe of who they are. And they stop playing, they look at me and go, and we just look at each other. That human connection is really, really powerful. Let's see what Virginia shares. To see a child means to meet them as a person. And when a child is recognized by other adults as a valuable human, that empowers a child's confidence, bravery, and helps them to develop personal identity. Man, there's like 10 social media posts in there, Virginia. There's something I could put on the website homepage. There's something I could put in an email there. There's something in a text. That would be great to nurture a lead. Why do I want to choose Journey Martial Arts over any other school? Because we see your child. We're going to meet them as a person and recognize them as a valuable human. We believe that's going to help empower your child's confidence, bravery, and help them to develop personal identity. Boom! Good stuff, right? So again, when something's as strong as that, I think that the goal is to systematically write that now, Virginia, into social media posts, get dripped out every Monday. This one philosophy will be instilled every Monday. Boom, social media post. Write it in your blog. You should have a blog, Virginia. A blog with stuff like that is super powerful. I have, if you Google it, I have one of the highest rated ranking martial arts blogs at Google. And all I did is every month write a blog, every month. And if you look at it, I talk a lot about parenting. I'm extremely vulnerable in who I am as a human being. And that endears me to people organically. It's not a strategic manipulative sales thing. It's just one of my creative outlets. And I like writing this blog every month. That's great, Virginia. I love that too. Conrad, that's brilliant, Virginia. But now I'm going to challenge you guys. Is it in your every thought, word, and action? Right? Have you written SOPs and systems and trained your team to exhibit that behavior? Right? If I took it and said, okay, how do I do that in a push-up? Right? It could be something as simple, Conrad, as, oh, I see you, Johnny. Man, I respect that push-up you're doing, Johnny, because you're making your body stronger. Your arms are straight, your back is flat, and you're going all the way down and pushing all the way up, right? So Conrad is respect martial arts. And when I think about a brand like Respect, there's certain standard terms, you could use, right? Someone does something really well. You can just look at them, Conrad, and go, respect, dude, respect, right? That's a standard one that we would say to somebody anywhere in the world, right? That's an old one. It's been done. You can use it all the time. Johnny's respecting himself, right? By punching fast and strong. Johnny respects his body. Yeah, it's my personal SOP and not my staff SOP. Well, I see that, Conrad. But you, as the architect of your business, I think that's something that if you can instill in your team, you can grow. You can grow that school, right? You can grow that, Conrad, because I can't teach every class. With 1,000 students between two locations, I need a team that believes in that SOP right there. And if it's your personal SOP, unless you want to keep it personal, then find a way to create a system and an SOP to get your team behind it, right? And I like respect. I think it's very cool, right? Kid walks in to class and you greet him. Maybe that's your whole greet. Respect, fist bump, respect, high five. I like respect just as a cool, fun word, right? Respect, right? And where I grew up, that was a big one. That was a big one, right? So that I speak in the prisons, and they're so big on respect, and I was grateful that I knew where the exit was. I was sitting in a pod, and this is a side story, but I just want to give this to you. There were the Aryans, there were the Crips, there were the you know um, whatever Mexican infraction of gang was there, and the farthest guard must have been 40 feet away. And I think all he had was like those beanbag bullet things. And they said, it's all about respect in here. And I looked at everybody. I said, well, I'm a little confused. Because if it's all about a respect in here, why are you in here? Right? They looked at me. I thought they were going to kill me, Conrad. Because if you respect yourself, you wouldn't be making knucklehead decisions like that got you into jail to begin with. That's the point I was trying to make, Conrad. Right? And so I shared that quite openly. So again, I love this, Virginia. Conrad, I love it. I love it. But I hear how much you believe in what you're saying, Virginia. Conrad, I hear it. But is it written into systems? Is it written where your parents get it, right? Because one of the big things here in getting families to choose your martial arts school is parent communication. Yeah, it's a big one. I'm always feel like a one-legged person in a butt kicking contest. It's such a hard one, and it's one you can never give up on, because if I communicate well with my parents, they're the ones who pay the bill. They're the ones who make the kids come to martial arts when they don't want to, and they're the ones who get the kid to stay no matter how much they complain or moan that they're bored and want to do a different activity, right? Right? So again, it is, I think, imperative, if you want to grow your school, that these great SOPs, these great philosophies you're sharing to me as what differentiates you from another martial arts school, are worked on and cultivated into SOPs, right? SOPs. And you see it, it's done on a grand scale. Disney still strives, as expensive and crazy as they are, to be the happiest place on earth. They've scaled it to Paris and China and Japan, right? And Florida and Los Angeles. They've scaled it through movies and products and everything else. They want to make it the happiest place on earth. Okay? So really think about that. Because if we can do that consistently through every thought, word, and action, parents trust us. Because every interaction allows us that purpose. Okay. Um, I think this is a big one for me, is stop sounding like everybody else, right? We build confidence, right? We teach discipline. Everybody and their mother says that, and so instead of saying we teach confidence, how about we help shy children respect themselves, to find the voice and believe themselves? How about we recognize children as valuable humans, and through that process they learn through self-discovery to believe in themselves? Boom. At least, I mean, it's fundamentally the same thing. We teach confidence, but it's something that's in line with your brand message and what you do. But as you can see, it's something you got to spend a good amount of time with and think about. And even, one of the great exercises for me, once I recognized live your best life, I went in and deleted every social media post. I went and rewrote the content at our website. I started producing blogs centered around live your best life. I went into our Facebook friends and family page, our business page, everything, Google, and I cleaned it up. Because what I did through that process, that I think you'll find as well, it helped me really refine my brand message. Once I discovered live your best life, that was the beginning. Then I needed to create vehicles to help me refine and define and write systems and SOPs and all the rest. The low hanging fruit at that time was simply to clean up my social media, my website, my handouts we give to parents, and all of that. Does that make sense? So it's a great place to begin, because again, if we sound like every other school, then my buying decision will always be simply based upon who's closer to me and who's cheaper. Cool. I was taking a break from my walking pad, good people, because I had a Zoom before this, but I'm going to turn it back on. So if I look like I'm waddling from side to side, it's because I'm on my walking pad. All right. So what helps us do that? It's your unique service point. Journey, you have one. Respect, you have one. Your unique service point should be honest, service-based, heartfelt, and consistently lived. Now, you present that to a sales guy, he's going to probably talk crap. And that's not a strategic sales script. It's all about closing the deal. Got to close the deal, upgrade them, upsell them, close the deal. That's cool. If that's what you believe in, I'm not going to rock your boat, man. Right? That's what you believe in. Who am I to say what you should believe in? But I believe long-term relationships of retention, long-term relationships that will definitely make you more money, require time. Time. So I think it's important that we're really honest. And here's my great example of that. I'm a big Apple advocate. I study a lot of Steve Jobs, and I know he was ruthless in some ways. And, we're not talking about that. What I'll talk to you about is some of the things I believe we can apply to our business. All right. So, honesty. He was launching a new iPhone. It might have been the iPhone 3, and I know we're up to 17. And he was getting ready to discuss features. And somebody in the audience raised their hand and he said, please. He said, the Google Android has specs. So he's naming all these specs. He says, so spec-wise, it's much better than the iPhone. And, Steve looked at him and said, you're absolutely right. You probably are. Now, here's the first feature of the iPhone. Wow. Talk about being honest. Steve Jobs agreed with this guy. He agreed with him. Then he went on to share, right, the service-based, heartfelt, consistently lived benefits that make their culture unique at Apple. That's very cool. I think that's very cool. It takes a lot of confidence to acknowledge that somebody might be better than you. And people have done that. The school down the street is cheaper than you. Yes, they are. They absolutely are. But here at One Martial Arts, we don't have an enrollment fee. We don't have a cancellation fee. We have no belt testing fees. And we have no upgrades. And the parent looked at me, went to the other school, came back and said, you know what? They had an enrollment fee. They had that. I didn't say the school down the street must have an enrollment fee. This, and that. So the price they're offering you is probably not the real price. I didn't do that. But I did shift it into here's what makes One Martial Arts unique. See where I'm going with that? Because when you browbeat another business, that does not make you look good. When you got to put down somebody else to prop yourself up, that is bad behavior. It is. And I'm always correcting, myself, my team. Don't prop yourself up. We're not discussing what so-and-so did, right? You'll get that in a team meeting. You're sharing, the other person on the team did that. Well, number one, we're not discussing the other person on the team and what they did. And if they did something inappropriate, please post it in Slack as a DM and I'll, TJ will address it. What we're discussing is you and how you can help live your best life, how you can improve upon that process to fulfill our brand of live your best life. You with me? So I'm very passionate about that. Have to be honest, service-based, heartfelt, and consistent. Your difference is not just what you teach, it's how. It's how you make people feel. It's the values you live by every day. And I think that's one of the big disconnects. And if you watch the piece, The Golden Circle by, who wrote that? Was it Seth Godin? I don't know who wrote that. God, I don't remember right now. Can anybody help me? Look that up. Who wrote The Golden? Oh, Simon Sinek. There you go. Simon Sinek, and he talks about a lot of people, and this is where this work is very important if you're going to get a family to choose your martial arts school, right? And we've already discussed that my child is seen, they're heard, they're supported, they feel safe, they feel valued, right? They feel valued. Thank you, Simon Sinek. Is most of us market from the what. What are we? I'm One Martial Arts, okay? And what's indicative of that is when I look at your website or a flyer, and the biggest thing on it is your logo. I can't tell you because I do work with Kin Creative and I produce graphics for them and I write the ad copy for many of the Facebook ads that we run, how much pushback I get from school owners that their logo on this graphic is not big enough. And I share with them, your logo is not your brand. Your brand is your promise. I think I would have a better chance of creating an emotional connection with a mom or dad if on my graphic, the biggest thing on it said is live your best life versus my One Martial Arts logo. Even more so, let's get more direct. Let's make an emotional connection. Invest in your child's future. Oh yeah, that's me. I'm that kind of parent, right? Ask the question, would you like your child to believe in themselves? Oh, yes, I would. right? On and on, on and on. But so they start with the what. And that's why, again, I get so much pushback. We're not talking about a tent at an event, right? I've got a nice big tent and there's a logo on it. It says live your best life. We have a table. We cover it. There's a One Martial Arts logo with live your best life. That is not the discussion we're having. That's so they can identify you when they're walking through this big auditorium, right? Or at a fair or something. That is much different. What we're discussing here is if you keep marketing from the what and never get any further, I think you're really hurting your brand tremendously. Some people get to the how, and the how is very cool, right? It's cool in this case. How do you teach? How do you make a child feel, right? That's important. But more important than all of that, if you live from your why, the what and the how become amplified. And they're no longer just this strategic process. They now become part of the why. Ours is live your best life, right? That's it. It's live your best life. So that's what we do through every thought, word, and action. Because brands must be lived. I mean, your culture must show up in your classes, your instructors, your leadership, your communication, your customer service, and your community. And everything that you do. Everything that you do. Because families are watching for consistency, right? Because trust is earned through my thought, word, and action. And I talk about consistency. I've used it so many ways. You know, I use the little metaphor of I go to my favorite restaurant, and if you make my dish the way I like it, I come back again. I go a second time, a different cook's on duty. He doesn't make it the way I like. Oh, no, I'm skeptical. I go a third time, and somebody else is on duty, and they don't make my meal the way I like it. I never go there again. So consistency earns trust. And I think what school owners don't recognize, and I'm guilty of this too, is that you do something to earn people's trust, and then you stop doing it. And that's human. That's why relationships end. I trusted you, and you violated that trust. Now I don't trust you. It takes hard, it takes a lot to earn somebody's trust, very little to break their trust, and after that, almost impossible to earn that trust back again. And I think in a business sense, people take trust too lightly. They're ready to make false promises and everything just to get you to sign up. The classic one that I was in, one of these seminars, and they said, if somebody comes to you and says they want to learn Krav Maga and you don't teach Krav Maga, basically lie to them. Oh yeah, we're just like Krav Maga. We teach kicking and punching and da-da-da-da-da. Come on in, take a trial class. That's wrong. That is simply wrong. What we teach is not just like Krav Maga. It is not. Krav Maga is very unique. It has a system, lesson plans, everything. So you see, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. But I think it's fear-based thinking that causes us to do that, right? We're afraid. So we sit there and lie because we need to pay rent. We sit there and lie because it's not personal, it's just business. And even scarier is when you as a school owner, because nobody polices you, you can squint your eyes and go, yeah, I'm not really lying. We do teach, kind of like Krav Maga. We have punches and kicks like Krav Maga. Please don't do that. You want to destroy your brand, or even worse, you behave that way because you have no value of a brand because you've never developed one. And again, when I look at companies like Apple that control the narrative, they control the narrative. That's important to them. You've really got to love your brand. You got to respect your brand. You have to value your brand. But if you don't go through the task of defining your brand to begin with, you will never differentiate yourself from any other martial arts school. You with me? So I see a lot of people sitting up there, say hello, tell me you're here. And if you have a question, put it in there. I love the input you guys are offering me. Because what I understand above all, like in any quality relationship, trust creates loyalty. Loyalty is such a lost word in today's world, right? People aren't even loyal to themselves because they haven't defined their values or their belief system or what they stand for. And that's what it's all about, right? If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. And I'm not talking about a narrow-minded, narcissistic, insecure ego that props themselves up and says, no, these are the values of what I believe in. I would think it's a fear-based thinking, wrapped up in insecurity. So really, I know for me to earn people's trusts, I have to be vulnerable. I have to be human. I have to say, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Not that I'm the grand poobah grandmaster of the world who can't apologize or, like the emperor with no clothes, you're going to expose me. I think the big success of my businesses, especially with my team, my parents, and the kids, is my vulnerability. I know. You're a black belt. You're a ninth degree. Da, 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 da. You know what? I put my pants on like you do and my poop stinks. So at the end of the day, I believe humanism at the highest level promotes loyalty. But you cannot be the kid who cried wolf. And I witness people do that. They make the same mistake over and over and over in their business without any course correction, without any, you know, commitment to change. And that's why they wonder, you've been open 20 years and you have 75 students. Now, you work a day job, you got medical benefits with retirement and all. That's fine. I have a lot of friends that do that, right? They have a club, they work for the city. Then at night they go play Grandmaster. That's cool, man. Don't let me tell you any different. But if you want to grow to 300, and I believe that's the tipping point, 300 for me is the number that I knew I would make great money to pay myself, pay my team, take care of my family, buy a home, save for retirement, all the rest. That's the number. It's going to take this type of work. No great business is built upon salesmanship and systems purely. No way. The greatest businesses are built upon culture. Cool? So you have a question, put it in there. You have any thoughts, put it in there. So, what are your big takeaways today? What did you get out of today's broadcast? And this is the third in the series. We started 2 weeks ago with, how to identify your brand. Next was how to attract families, but now it's how to keep families, right? Those experiences you create are magical, magical. And I can't express that enough. But because it is not step one, step two, step three all the time, that you have to be very mindful. I mean, Disney did it. And I think it's amazing to watch a Disney movie like Lion King and still cry. I think I watched Pinocchio and cry. Every time I walk down Main Street in Disneyland, I get sentimental because my sister, who passed away 25 years ago, her and I would, go to Disneyland. And once we hit Main Street, we were in another world, right? So again, what I want, I know Disney's really expensive now and everything, but what I do want to compliment them on is how they create some kind of magic. When I see that 76-year-old couple wearing mouse ears walking down Main Street, and there's no kids with them anywhere. So they went to Disney as a child with their parents. They went to Disney as middle schoolers, high schoolers, college. They went to Disney with their sweetheart. They went to Disney with their kids. They went to Disney with their grandkids. And now probably here they are. What is it about Disney that makes people loyal to the brand like that, where they pay astronomical amounts of money to still go to Disneyland today? That's magic. And if we can borrow even 2% of that and incorporate it into our business, I believe our chances of scaling and being successful from a business perspective is there. It's there, right? But it all begins with your why. Disney, the happiest place on earth. Okay. What's going to make it happy? It's got to be clean. Disney's pretty much clean all the time. All the time. And when I was in Disney in Japan, it blew my mind because Japan's a very clean country to begin with. But looking at Disney just blew my mind. Blew my mind. So how is it the happiest place on earth? Well, every moment is magical. I remember when I went to Radiator Springs, right? The tunes, that area. I looked at the building. Wow, it was really cool. It looked like, the desert Wild West. I don't know what it was for me. And then I walked around. It was just a facade. It wasn't even a full building. But the backside of this building was fully painted and decked out. I'm going, who would spend money and detail to do that? Nobody walks back here. I did it intentionally. And it's because Disney recognizes that you walk to the back of this thing and it's just a structure of 2x4s in a frame. The magic is gone. See, but are you that committed to a brand? Not unless you figure it out, right? And you get it down on paper and you get it to the point where this is what I believe in. Because until you believe in it, you're not going to do the work to instill that belief into a hello at the front door, instill that belief into a system when you warm up the class, right? Instill that type of belief into a team meeting. You hear my passion for this, folks, and I can't express it enough. Please do the work. Make sure you watch this episode and the past too. So let's thank our sponsors. Let's begin there. Market Muscles to Saw, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and of course, Kin Creative. These are all companies I work with, all companies I believe in, and people that I love. There's not a single company here I don't love somebody in that company. And that's the way I roll. I got to work with people I love. Life is too short, and I want to live relationships that I value deeply. Because is everything going to be perfect? No. Has Market Muscles messed up? Yes. Has Tucson missed an order? Yes. Right? Has Kids Love Life Skills, Letitia not gotten me my order on time? Yes. Has she, given me opinions about bookkeeping I don't like? Yes. Do me and the creative team at Kin Creative or the CEO have rifts? Yes. But we love each other. And love to me is the greatest of all life skills, and through it we work together. So I back these companies. I believe in these companies. They are a big part of my success. What do you have coming up? It's Time Live United. People already booking. Yes. It's only 20 spots. Oh, that's not the right one there, Chris. It's Time Live United. Thank you, sir. There you go. Thank you, Chris. It's Time Live United already. It's not till November, and we already got 2 people booked. So there's 18 more spots. We have a great discount of, I think, $199. There's a QR code. I think it's Freedom. And take advantage of it. $199 off. Be one of the 20, right? I love that experience because for 4 days, we grow together, we cry together, we bond together, and I'm a better person after 4 days. That's how I know it's a good event. Because when I teach something, I learn it twice. It's super powerful. In each incarnation, I'm more refined, I understand more, and I'm up to date. Even though I might have presented systems at every one of these events because it's so valuable, I do my research on what's relevant today, especially when it comes to working with kids post-pandemic, the first generation born into all devices, right? So you want to be there. Long story short, you want to be there. And already 2 spots are taken, so there's only 18 more for the 4-day experience. Our mentoring group, very special group, Miss Monique and Jason and Marco and me, we're all active school owners, and I think that's the big difference is we're not just sitting in a glass house talking about what you coulda, woulda, shoulda. We live it every day. Our heart breaks when a student leaves. We look at our numbers at the end of every month and hope that we're profitable and work towards that. So I think we're not consultants, we're mentors, and that's a group of peers that are trying to achieve their version of success and trying to influence you through the knowledge that we currently have, right? But make no mistake, it's always up to date. And when someone says, well, you're going to teach the same old thing, wealth building and systems and staff development, I said, it's on a whole new level every time we're out there, right? And I think that's the difference in It's Time Live United and our group mentoring. So where can you find me? You know where they can find me, right? Where's that one, Chris? Of course, this podcast, Success Never Sleeps. I would subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's 10 years of learning there. 10 years. And I've talked to people that go, I run my whole school just watching your videos. Good day. If I can give back to the community that way, I will. And of course, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. This podcast is everywhere. And for everything else, you can find me at brannonbeliso.com. So my big takeaway today is that I love when people spend the time on their brand. Because again, if it's transactional, people buy from you. But if people believe in you, it promotes loyalty, quality relationships, valuable Disney experiences that could never, ever happen unless they're loyal to the brand and they believe in what you do. I will put up with the long line at Disney. I'll put up with those different things, just to look at the smile on my kids' faces, even at 14 and 17, at the end of a long day at Disney and they're watching the fireworks. You know what I mean? We'll spend any amount of money to capture that feeling one more time. But if I go to Disney and they treat me like crap, right, and they're horrible, that's going to start changing my perspective on everything Disney does, right? So again, the consistency, and I think what helps me be consistent is I believe in live your best life. I really do. So I consistently have to live it through my every thought, word, and action. I have to take on some new shiny program or this or that. I just need to believe in my brand so much, I'm willing to go deeper on it and deeper on it and deeper on it. That's the growth that I believe creates a legacy business. Not, oh, this is trending, let's do this. Oh, this is trending. Oh, now, hey, look at that new program I saw at this convention. That kind of behavior to me is just a huge waste of time. A huge waste of time, unless that program generally fulfills your brand promise, right? And if it does, then so be it. Cool. All right. I hope you got a lot out of today. I know I did. And I'm very grateful to serve this to the martial arts community. We're witnessing, there's so many consultants out there, and I don't know who they are or where they came from. And I think it's important that we do our homework and we make sure the people we take advice from are reputable. So just do your homework out there and make sure that you're working with somebody that aligns with your values and your vision. Cool. All right. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, you go out there, live your best life. Thank you, everybody.